This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure to order Jamie Glazov's new critically acclaimed jihadist psychopath, how he is charming, seducing, and devouring us. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Hello, this is a Clare Lopez moment brought to you by the Glazov Gang. I want to share with you a few thoughts that may help us to understand not only what the Islamic Republic of Iran is doing and may do in the next few days or weeks in the aftermath of the U.S. takedown of Quds Force Commander Major General Qasem Suleimani, but what our President, Donald J. Trump, may be thinking. At least I hope so. It may just be that President Trump has read the Iranian Constitution after all. It says that the Iranian regime exists to wage jihad in order to establish a global Islamic state under the rule of Sharia, Islamic law. It says that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is an ideological army whose duty is not just to defend Iran's borders, but to spread its Islamic revolution all over the world. So what that means is that this Iranian regime has been at war with the United States and the rest of the non-Sharia world for the last 41 years, and believes itself divinely obligated to carry on that war until all religion be for Allah alone, per the Quran in verse 839. Qasem Suleimani was among the most sincerely devout of the regime's true believers, those who are the Twelvers, or the Shiite followers of the 12th Imam, whom they believe is the Mahdi, the messianic figure of Islam, who will return to the earth at the end of time to usher in the Day of Judgment. Take note as well, for the first time in history, Iran has hoisted the red flag of war over the mosque in Jamkaran, the site of the well from which believers in the 12th Imam think he's going to reemerge. That flag is the symbol of blood and revenge. Now, Suleimani's job, the Quds Force job, was to set up jihad terror militias all over the Middle East and beyond, and to arm them, back them, fund them, train them to wage terror jihad against Israel, the U.S., and anyone else who got in the way of the Iranian regime's mission to export the revolution for Islam. Suleimani and his Quds Force worked with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iraqi Hashd-e-Shabi militias, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Taliban, among others. Under Suleimani's command, these terror militias, both Shiite and Sunni, wreaked mayhem across the Middle East, Southwest Asia, and right here in the United States. They attack our ally Israel incessantly and threaten it with genocide. Suleimani was enemy number one for us as well as Israel. He was also charismatic, powerful, strategically brilliant, and extremely successful. These are not accolades. This is simply the truth of the evil we were up against, with a figure whose stature and power inside the Iranian regime was second only to that of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who considered Suleimani as a son. They were that close. Let's remember that Ayatollah Khomeini's jihad thugs attacked and took Americans hostage on American sovereign soil at our Tehran embassy right off the bat in 1979. Then Iran's Shiite terror proxies Hezbollah, under command of its terror chieftain Imad Mughniya, hit our Beirut embassy and Marine Corps barracks in 1983. Tehran's and Hezbollah formal jihad alliance with Al-Qaeda was launched in Khartoum in 1990, followed by attacks on Americans at Khobar Towers in 1996, our Nairobi and Dar es Salaam embassies in 1998, the USS Cole in 2000, and finally, our homeland on 9/11. Qasem Suleimani became Quds Force commander in 1998, and so played a key role in Iran and Hezbollah's involvement in the attacks of 9/11. See Iran911case.com for details of the Havlish case, in which Southern District of New York Federal Court Judge George Daniels, in December 2011, found Iran and Hezbollah co-responsible with Al-Qaeda for those attacks. But neither President Obama, nor even to date President Trump, has ever so much as mentioned Iran's, Hezbollah's, or Suleimani's culpability in those attacks right here on U.S. soil. Suleimani's and Iran's role in 9/11 alone should have been enough reason to exact just retribution. But until President Trump, There just wasn't the political will to do so. Let's continue on. It was Iran that sent the IEDs, VPIDs, and EFPs, lethal explosives, to Suleimani's Iraqi Shiite terror militias in the mid-2000s that killed and maimed so many U.S. and coalition troops, as well as those thousands of Iraqis, too, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds we used to visit at Bethesda Naval Hospital with their arms and legs blown off, were sent home injured for life, while our military were put under gag orders not to say anything about where those explosive devices came from. They all knew it was Iran responsible and Suleimani for that, but they were not allowed to say so out loud. But not one of the 5 U.S. presidents during whose tenure all of this happened, and certainly not President Obama either, ever once publicly held the Iranian regime to account or took just retribution for any of that until now, until President Trump. The sequence of events that led up to President Trump's order to take Suleimani out this past Friday, the 3rd of January 2020, may be marked by incessant attacks by Suleimani's Iraqi Hashd-e-Shaabi terror militias against bases in Iraq where he and Iranian regime masters knew full well American troops were based. So it was only a matter of time before one was killed, and unfortunately, that happened on the 27th of December. The militia responsible for the death of an American contractor and injury to 4 others was the Kataib Hezbollah, which, like other Hashd-e-Shaabi groups, nominally was incorporated into the Iraqi military last year, 2019, but in fact remained under the direct command of Qasem Soleimani. President Trump determined that with the killing of an American citizen, a red line had been crossed, and he ordered a military strike against 5 bases of that militia group in both Iraq and Syria. In a rapid-fire tit-for-tat, Suleimani then unleashed Kataib Hezbollah militia members to attack the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad on the 29th of December. They caused significant damage to the compound's outer areas, with U.S. diplomats barricaded inside safe rooms. With that attack against American diplomats and U.S. sovereign territory, our embassy, and intelligence indicating that Suleimani was planning new and imminent attacks against U.S. targets, President Trump had had enough. He ordered a drone strike against Qasem Soleimani upon his arrival at Baghdad airport on Friday, the 3rd of January. Killed alongside him was Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, the nom de guerre of the Kataib Hezbollah militia leader that attacked our troops and our embassy. In quick succession, the fallout began. The Iranian regime vowed retribution against the United States to follow a 3-day mourning period for Suleimani, even as Iraqis danced in the streets and Iranians took to social media to thank our president. President Trump responded immediately, threatening 52 Iranian sites if that regime attacks us, and ordering more than 4,000 additional troops to be sent to the Middle East. On the home front, the Department of Homeland Security issued a warning bulletin urging vigilance, but making no mention of the Hezbollah cell network that is here. On Sunday, the 5th of January, President Trump tweeted out, "The United States just spent $2 trillion on military equipment. We are the biggest and by far the best in the world. If Iran attacks an American base or any American, we will be sending some of that brand new, beautiful equipment their way and without hesitation," the president tweeted. Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, called on Shiite militias everywhere to attack U.S. military targets. The Iranian regime reportedly announced an $80 million bounty for anyone who brings the head of President Trump. On Sunday, also the 5th of January, the Iraqi parliament passed a non-binding resolution to cancel the request for U.S. military aid to the Iraqi army. Now, this resolution does not require a U.S. withdrawal, which only the Prime Minister can order by rescinding the status of forces agreements with the United States, if he even has the authority to do so. Shiite cleric Muqtada al-Sadr called for mobilization of new resistance groups to support such attacks, effectively reviving his Mahdi army militia. Also on the 5th of January, the Iranian regime announced that it would no longer be bound by any of the commitments made in the 2015 nuclear deal, as if they'd ever been. And so we go on. What to take away from all of this? Number one, and most important, I think, after a period of escalating Iranian kinetic attacks against commercial shipping, Saudi oil fields, a U.S. drone, and military bases where U.S. personnel are stationed, when it seemed that the president's only response was going to be restraint and some more sanctions, he finally has taken a hugely important step to reestablish U.S. credibility and some measure, it is to be hoped, of deterrence. In this neighborhood, perceptions matter, whether they're correct or not. If the U.S. allows itself to be seen as no longer the strong horse, emboldened aggression against us is automatic, until the misperception is corrected. President Trump has just done that. Number two, norms of proportionality do not hold that the response to aggression must be exactly equivalent, but rather that the response should be proportionate to the overall threat facing us, such that it is neutralized. Number three, Baghdad is a Tehran client state, and we have no realistic ability to change that in the near term. Getting the Iraqis to order U.S. troops out of Iraq, if they ultimately do, rather than simply withdrawing them unilaterally like we did in Syria, may just be a masterstroke of strategic maneuvering. Number four, much as he wants to get the U.S. out of endless commitments to the Middle East wars, Trump realizes that when we withdraw and allow a void in such a strategically critical region where the U.S. has core compelling national security objectives, chaos fills it. So he is signaling his resolve to remain engaged against the Tehran regime by sending additional thousands of troops to the region. Number five, taking out Suleimani and hitting the bases and leadership of the Quds Force's Iraqi terror militias decapitates the Iranian regime's key arm of terror and seriously degrades its ability to project malign power and influence at allies and partners of ours like Israel and Saudi Arabia. Also, the loss of Suleimani plunges the Tehran regime into internal disarray because even if maximum pressure eventually somehow leads to the ouster of the mullahs and their Vilayat-e-Faqih system, the IRGC, Quds Force, and the intelligence service would remain. But if they fall into internecine conflict over the remains of the regime corpse, now absent Suleimani, then that may make the eventual regime change that must come somewhat less difficult. Yes, there is more to come, but President Trump has just established escalation dominance as he shapes the future battlefield. Lastly, by establishing an image of unpredictability, even possible irrationality, President Trump keeps the Iranian regime off balance, never knowing now what he might do next. This is a good thing. Hoping you will share this video widely, and please support the Glazov Gang at jamieglazov.com, and please subscribe to this Glazov Gang YouTube channel. Thank you.